you talk about the big schools, the Power Five schools saying the hell with all of this, we're going to go our own way, and if we've got to have a truncated season or what have you, so be it. We'll go that route for the time being. I think that that's something that folks could stomach simply because of the times that we're living in, what we're enduring, and the fact that, some teams are going to be completely crushed and destroyed because of this coronavirus and the lack of fan participation and things of that nature, because it simply can't happen. And so you could see the Big Five schools coming up with something just to make sure they have games, even if there are no fans in attendance, and then going about the business of having it televised to give you some semblance of quality football. But that's only temporarily. The minute this stuff subsides, then you're going to see America ultimately raise up and think about the quote-unquote little guy and the plethora of schools out there that obviously are looking to have their own programs, that it's not always about the money, what about the kids and all of that other stuff. And that's not something that they would stomach for the long haul. I think from a temporary perspective, again, what Paul is saying is very, very plausible and believable. But I think long term, that's not something that would happen. It's not something that would wash. People in America wouldn't be able to stomach that because it would be seen and deemed a bit too unfair.
Well, first of all, what Bob Costa said may very well be true. We may not have team sports in 2020 in this country. And then going forward over the next year or two, at least until there's a vaccine, there may be disruptions, interruptions in seasons and such. And so I think, Paul, you make a very good point. At least temporarily, if that's, it's like playing basketball without fans, or doing whatever you can in order to get some kind of consumer product. Let's be honest, that's what this is really about. That's what college football is about. Some content, some sports content. And so even if that's not exactly what we're used to, that better than nothing. The question is, once that happens, can the smaller programs, the not as well financed programs, survive? If there is no sports, for example, this year, and if next year we're talking about something like, Paul, you're talking about this year, like how long can they survive that? And if we're given something new and we get used to it and maybe we prefer it, do we go back to the way we used to do things? So whether or not, Stephen A., it's a temporary or permanent solution or should happen or could happen, I think it could happen, and if that's the best we can do in the short run, I think it should happen, and whether or not we ever go back, that remains to be seen. Let's see if we like it.
Guys, the biggest issue in college football is, unlike the NFL, no one is in charge. Roger Goodell decided to have the draft last night. They had it. It was successful, and we all watched it. There's no one that the college football is like trying to get the five families of the mob together and agree on something. California may not allow anyone in a stadium this fall. You've heard the governor out there, Gavin Newsom, say that. He's not going to allow crowds. The governor of Georgia may say, we don't care. We're happy with having college football. So you have so many political inter-fights going on that I think this season is going to be very challenging. And one more thing, I don't think the people, even the five commissioners who run most of college football, will agree to have games without fans. The NFL can get away with that. I do not think college football can get away with that.
Well, that was my point about a week ago or so, Paul, when I was talking about this. I said the NFL can get away without fans being in attendance. They can still provide a football product to be televised, and you'll see millions upon millions of people salivating for that competition, and they'll swarm their TVs, and the ratings will be through the roof. Even though that might happen in college football as well, fan participation is so pivotal to the success financially, as along with other things, as it pertains to college football. You simply can't have college football games without fans in attendance. That's just not going to wash. It's not going to suffice, especially long term. So I definitely get what you're saying in that regard. I just don't think that from a long term perspective, that's something that would wash. With the Power Five schools getting together, I don't see that as happening. happening at all or long term. That's not going to be stomached. But short term, anything's possible. In terms of what you said, Max, I'm just not of the minds. I don't believe for 1 second that we're going to go the rest of this year without team sports. I don't believe that's going to happen. I think that baseball will return in some capacity. I think that basketball will return in some capacity. UFC, boxing, tennis, golf. I think all of that's going to happen, but without fans in attendance. I definitely believe that that is going to happen. I do not agree with you or Bob Costas in any way about that being possible. I don't see that happening at all.
Well, yeah, that aside, whether or not you can play games at all or play games with fans, that's on the one hand a separate argument. But what Paul's bringing up about college football would still apply, nevertheless, which is you have strong central control, central authority in the NFL, for example. So what that allows the commissioner to do is not only make a decision top down, but also plan for future horizons a little bit more coherently. When you're dealing with a group and no one's really in charge, no one's really has the authority, it's harder to get everyone to move lockstep, making it more likely for unusual things to happen like schools breaking off and what Paul suggested.
There's another issue about playing college football this year that I don't think we've talked about very much. And I've spoken to a number of parents who will not let their children play college football if there are no students on campus or in the stands. So colleges have multiple issues, and they are trying to solve them every day. And you probably have heard one of the conversations that have even been raised to punt on the fall season and start in late January, maybe February, and drag it all the way out to May. Guess what that means? That means the commissioner of the NFL would have to agree to push the draft back. And I'm betting heavily, guys, he won't do that.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.